Okay, so this is part two of my live reading of chapter five on air brakes for my um, for diesel heavy duty vehicles. So chapter five. I'm gonna read it here. So I left off on step seven of the the PMCS of a vehicle. So final air brake check. Do the following checks instead of the hydraulic brake check shown on chapter 2. Step 7, check brake system. Test low pressure warning signal. Shut the engine off when you have enough air pressure that the low pressure warning signal is not on. Turn the electric power on and step on and off the brake pedal to reduce air tank pressure. The low pressure warning signal must come on before the pressure drops to less than 60 psi in the air tank or tank with the lowest air pressure in dual air systems. If the warning signal doesn't work, you could lose air pressure and you would not know it. This could cause sudden emergency braking in a single circuit air system. In dual systems, the stopping distance will be increased. Only limited braking can be done before the spring brakes come on. Check that the spring brakes come on automatically. Choke the wheels. Release the parking brakes when you have enough air pressure to do it and shut the engine off. Step on Step on and off the brake pedal to reduce the air tank pressure. The parking brake knob should pop out when the air pressure falls to the manufacturer's specification, usually in a range between 20 to 40 psi. This causes the spring brakes to come on. So as we read, when the air pressure drops to um, so normal air pressure is between 120 and 100 psi. That's the recommendation. So anything less than that, you you'll get the signal. 60, I think at 60 psi, the signal will come on, which is they red light, and then sometimes a sound. And but when you are testing your spring brake systems, so 60 is low. You want it to be at least a 40 for the spring brakes to release automatically. So it's going to be between 20 and 40 psi that'll cause the spring brakes to automatically release. Check the rate of air pressure buildup. With the engine at operating RPM, the pressure should build from 85 to 100 psi within 45 seconds in dual air systems. If the vehicle has larger than minimum air tanks, the buildup time can be longer and still be safe. Check the manufacturer specifications. In single air systems, pre 1975 vehicles, typical requirements are pressure buildup from 50 to 90 psi within 3 minutes, with the engine at an idle speed of 600 to 900 RPMs. If air pressure does not build up fast enough, your pressure may drop too low during driving, requiring an emergency stop. Don't drive until you get the problem fixed. Call me. Test air leakage rate. With a fully charged air system, typically 125 psi, what I said earlier, turn off the engine, push in to release the parking brake, and time the air pressure drop. The loss rate should be less than 2 psi in 1 minute for single vehicles and less than 3 psi in 1 minute for combination vehicles. Once the air pressure is built up to governor cutoff, 120 to 140 psi, shut off the engine, choke the wheels if necessary, release the parking brake for all vehicles and the tractor protection valve for combination vehicles, and fully apply the foot brake. Hold the foot brake for 1 minute. The air pressure falls more than 3 psi in 1 minute for single vehicles, more than 4 psi for combination vehicles. The air loss rate is too much. Check for air leaks and fix the problem before driving the vehicle. Otherwise, you could lose your brakes while driving. You don't want to do that. Check air compressor governor cut in and cut out pressures. Pumping by the air compressor should start at about 100 psi and stop at about 125. Check manufacturer's specifications. Run the engine at a fast idle. The air governor should cut out the air compressor at at about the manufacturer's specified pressure. The air pressure shown by your gauges will stop rising. With the engine idling, step on and off the brake to reduce the air tank pressure. The compressor should cut in and out the manufacturer specified cut in pressure. The pressure should begin to rise. If the air governor does not work as described above, it may need to be fixed. A governor that does not work right may not keep enough air pressure for safe driving. Test parking brake. Stop the vehicle. Put the parking brake on and gently pull against it at a low gear to test that the parking brake will hold. Test service brakes. Wait for normal air pressure, release the parking brake, move the vehicle forward slowly about 5 miles per hour, and apply the brakes firmly using the brake pedal. Note if the vehicle pulls to one side or if there is an unusual feel or delayed stopping action. This test may show you problems which you otherwise wouldn't know about until you needed the brakes on the road. 5.4 Using air brakes. Push the brake pedal down, control the pressure so the vehicle comes to a smooth, safe stop. If you have a manual transmission, don't push the clutch in until the engine RPM is down close to idle. When stopped, select the starting gear. Using anti-lock brakes, ABS. Um, Sorry. So, normal stops. Um, Push the brake pedal down, control the pressure so the vehicle comes to a smooth, safe stop. If you have a manual transmission, don't push the clutch in until the engine RPM is down close to idle. When stopped, select, a starting gear. Using anti-lock brakes, ABS. Braking hard on a slippery surface in a vehicle without ABS can cause the vehicle's wheels to lock up. This can cause you to lose steering control. When the wheels lock up, the vehicle may skid, jackknife, or even spin out of control. ABS helps you avoid wheel lockup and maintain control of the vehicle. The computer senses when lockup is imminent and reduces braking pressure to a safe level. ABS may not enable you to stop faster, but it should allow you to steer around an obstacle while braking and avoid skidding caused by overbraking. See the section on ABS on page 120 for more information. Note, if you drive a vehicle with anti-lock brakes, you should read the following directions found in the owner's manual for stopping quickly. It's just a suggestion. That means you don't have to do it, but you should. Emergency stops. When a vehicle suddenly darts out in front of you, your first response is to hit the brakes. This is the proper response if there is enough distance to stop and you use your brakes correctly. You should brake so you can steer and so your vehicle stays in a straight line. Use one of the following two methods: controlled braking. With this method, you apply the brakes as hard as you can without locking the wheels. Keep steering wheel movements very small while doing this. If you need to make a larger steering adjustment or if the wheels lock, release the brakes. Reapply the brakes as soon as you can. Stab braking. This is slightly different from control braking since the wheels will lock up. A. Press on the brake pedal as hard as you can. B. Release the brakes when the wheels lock up. As soon as the wheels start rolling, as soon as the wheels start rolling, put on the brakes fully again. It can take up to 1 second for the wheels to start rolling. After you release the brakes, make sure you stay off the brakes long enough to get the wheels rolling again. Otherwise, the vehicle may not stay in a straight line. Stopping distance. Stopping distance is covered in Chapter 2 under speed and stopping distance. With air brakes, there is an added delay. The time required for the brakes to work after the brake pedal is pushed. With hydraulic brakes used on cars and light medium trucks, the brakes work instantly. However, with air brakes, it takes a little time, 1/2 second more, for the air to flow through the lines to the brakes. Thus, the total stopping distance for vehicles with air brakes: perception distance plus reaction distance plus brake lag distance plus effective braking distance equals total stopping distance. The air brake lag distance is 55 miles per hour on dry pavement, adds about 32 feet. So at 55 miles per hour, an average driver under good traction and brake conditions, the total stopping distance is over 450 feet. This is more than 1.5 football fields. Stop cutting these vehicles off. No corona. Braking on downgrades. Brakes are designed so brake shoes or pads rub against the brake drum or disc to slow the vehicle. This friction creates heat. Brakes can take a lot of heat. However, brakes will stop working if there is too much heat. Excessive heat is caused by trying to slow down from too high a speed, too many times, or too quickly. Brakes will fade when they get too hot, so you will have to push harder on the pedal to get the same stopping force. Brakes can fade so much that they will not slow you down. The right way to go down long grades is to use a low gear and drive slowly enough that a fairly light, steady use of the brakes will keep you from speeding. If you drive slowly enough, the brakes will be able to throw off the heat, so they will work as they should. Some people believe that using the brakes hard going downhill but letting up on them from time to time will allow them to cool. Tests have shown this is not true. Brakes cool very slowly, so the cooling between hard brakings is not enough to prevent overheating. Also, the vehicle picks up speed when the brakes are let up, which means harder braking will be needed to slow it back down. Braking in this way, on and off, builds up more heat than the light, steady method does. Therefore, drive slowly enough, use the right gear, and maintain light, steady pressure on the brakes. It is always important for brakes to be adjusted properly. However, it is especially important when going down steep grades. In addition to proper slack adjustment, the air brake system should be balanced to give about the same braking at each of the wheels. Otherwise, some brakes will do more work than others. They will heat up, lose some of their stopping power. Brakes balance can brakes balance can be tested and fixed by good air brake mechanics. Brake fading or failure. Remember that excessive use of the service brakes results in overheating and can lead to brake fading or failure. Brake fade results from excessive heat causing chemical changes in the brake lining, which reduces friction and also causes expansion of the brake drums. As the overheated drums expand, the brake shoes and linings have to move further to contact the drums, and the force of this contact is also reduced. Continued overuse may increase brake fade until the vehicle cannot be slowed down or stopped at all. Brake fade is also affected by adjustment. To safely control a vehicle, every brake must do its share of the work. Brakes out of adjustment will stop doing their share before those that are in adjustment. The other brakes can then overheat and fade, and there will not be sufficient braking available to control the vehicle. Brakes can get out of adjustment quickly, especially when they are hot. Therefore, brake adjustment must be checked frequently. Proper braking techniques. Remember, the use of brakes on a long end or steep downgrade should be used as a supplement to the braking effect of the engine. Once the vehicle is in the proper low gear, the following is the proper braking technique. Apply the brakes just hard enough to feel a definite slowdown. When your speed has been reduced to approximately 5 miles per hour below your safe speed, release the brakes. This brake application should last for about 3 seconds. When the speed is increased to your safe speed, repeat steps 1 and 2. For example, if your safe speed is 40 miles per hour, you would not apply the brake until your speed reaches 40 miles per hour. You now apply the brakes hard enough to gradually reduce your speed to 35 miles an hour and then release the brakes. Repeat this as often as necessary until you have reached the end of the downgrade. Low air pressure warning. If the low air pressure warning comes on, stop and safely park your vehicle as soon as possible. There might be an air leak in the system. Controlled braking is possible only while enough air remains in the air tanks. The spring brakes will come on when the air pressure drops into the range of 20 to 45 psi. A heavily loaded vehicle will take a longer distance to stop because the spring brakes do not work on all axles. Lightly loaded vehicles or vehicles on slippery roads may skid out of control when the spring brakes come on. It is much safer to stop while there is enough air in the tank to use the foot brake. Parking brake. Anytime you park, use the parking brakes, except as noted below. Pull the parking brake control knob out to apply the parking brakes. Push it in to release them. The control will be a yellow diamond shaped knob labeled parking brakes on newer vehicles. On older vehicles, it may be a round blue knob or some other shape, including a lever that swings from side to side or up and down. Exceptions. Don't use the parking brakes if the brakes are very hot from just having come down a steep grade or if the brakes are very freezing temperatures. If they are used while they are very hot, they can be damaged by the heat. If they are used in freezing temperatures when the brakes are very wet, they can freeze so the vehicle cannot move. Use wheel chokes to hold the vehicle. Let let hot brakes cool down before the parking brakes. Let hot brakes cool down before using the parking brakes. If the brakes are wet, use the brakes lightly while driving in a slow gear to heat and dry them. If your vehicle does not have automatic tank drains, drain your air tanks at the end of each working day to remove moisture and oil. Otherwise, the brakes could fail. So, that was the end of chapter 5, titled Air Brakes. So, does anybody have any questions? No, no questions. Okay. Well, I'll be back later to read the PowerPoints and see if you guys have any questions about air brakes for diesel vehicles or high heavy duty vehicles in general. Bye.